of our podcast. Here we'll be exploring some more in depth about the experience of women in STEM in professional leadership roles and within the industry. So, for today's episode, we have our guest, Yamel. She is a CSUN alum and graduated a couple years ago with a degree in civil engineering and construction management. So I'll let her introduce a little bit more about her and what she does currently.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yamel. I currently work for the city of San Diego as a project engineer, and I am in drainage design. And I've been studying recently, actually, for my 8 hours of PE, water and wastewater resources.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to be here. We'll get right into the questions that we have for you. So, first off, I just want to ask a little bit about your personal experience in your field. How has your experience been while working in a heavily male dominated field? What struggles have you faced when trying to attempt, either taking on new positions or furthering on, or like advancing in your positions?
I think that's a great question because, okay, so the city's kind of different how they run things, or I guess the culture of where I work has shifted. Right now on my floor, there's probably like six women in the whole floor. So it's definitely interesting. And my project manager is a guy, but my senior engineer is a woman, and the previous senior engineer has also been a woman. And my project manager has only actually worked with women. Like all his bosses have been women. And so for him is extremely important for me to get like all the same opportunities that everyone else does, and he has this like so much respect for women in this field where he pushes me to go out there and like do more. Like he pushes me to join committees, he pushes me to do mentorship programs. There hasn't been like, hey, I want to go learn about this, and there's going to be for example, a concrete pour, and I'm not even in the field. He'd be like, you can go and check it out, and I'll just go and learn from our resident engineer. And yeah, he's just that kind of mentor and boss where if I can find an opportunity to excel, he like just lets me do it. And he also lets me take more skills and more responsibilities. And it has been trying to like be more like hands off and just be like, you do your thing and see how I respond to things. But I've personally had a great experience so far.
That's really good. I feel like it's really refreshing to hear women have a positive experience in the field, just because I feel like it is so common to hear people saying that their higher ups, especially if they're men, not take them seriously or try to like belittle them, even if it's not direct. So I'm glad that you're having a really good experience then. It gives me hope.
Yeah, I think things are changing.
Mhm.
I think the more women that join, they make a difference and
Mhm.
they are shifting the culture.
All right, so now kind of shifting into our next question. As I know, just because I know you personally, but I don't know if you mentioned it before, since you are a first generation graduate, especially a first generation Latina graduate, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of imposter syndrome, maybe not really feeling like you have the necessary skills to take on a certain job or have the confidence to do so. So, if you've experienced that, how have you dealt with those thoughts? And also, what advice would you give for women in that same situation?
Oh my goodness, this hits because I remember graduating and I would have nightmares about them taking my diploma back, like that I didn't pass a class, or like I would have nightmares. And it was just, I feel like that even now, I'm like, what? Like I have my degree? It just seems so unreal some days where I'm like, is this how my life's supposed to be from now on? Just because I was used to working, like, I worked at Subway, that was my first job, and like, I was a slave, okay? Like they were like you can't sit down. They didn't have AC. It was just like you were up on your feet all day. And then I worked at Old Navy and that was retail and then people weren't kind there either.
Mhm.
And to come to a job where like you're respected and valued as part of the team and like you're considered and they know that you're gonna take breaks and things like that. Sometimes I'm like, I should be working harder. Like I need to work the hardest in team. And like even now, like I ask for additional work. Just because I sometimes I feel like I have to make up for it. And
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm making up for. Like we all have the same degree.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I feel like a lot of people, especially me, I'm also like a first gen working in kind of like similar degree area. I always feel like, oh, like, is this enough? Like, is getting my degree enough? Will I have everything that I need to do? Like, once I have my degree, like, it's real. So, um, I definitely understand where you're coming from on that aspect. So, hopefully, your insight helps other people in the same situation. So, given that, and transitioning into our next question, what advice would you give yourself? Like recently, post grad, what advice would you give yourself then? Or even when you were in your undergrad?
I think when I was in my undergrad, I wish I would have done an internship sooner. Like even my sophomore year, just trying to get out there instead of random jobs. And I wish I would have done my EIT sooner. If you haven't done yours, definitely do it while you're in college. It's a lot harder once you graduate. Um, yeah, I would do my EIT like junior year. And because you can start working with it. Like some places, instead of your degree, they'll take your EIT. And you can work either like part-time or full-time, but still with like engineering, like
Mm-hmm.
pay. Um, so I would tell myself that, but also to take my time sometimes. I would take sometimes 18 units at a time and work and like do my extracurriculars. And I burnt myself out by the end of it. And I wasn't taking care of like my body the way I should. I wasn't like making myself food or like going to the gym. But I think actually it was worth it because now I am able to do those things for myself because I established myself now in my career and like my schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely lots of good advice. I feel like every college student, has their struggles with trying to manage their time and make time for themselves while also making sure they get everything done. And with extracurriculars, it only gets so much harder. So definitely
Yeah.
important. Going into our next question, I like how you kind of emphasize getting like getting an internship sooner. I assume because obviously to get the experience, but also to get the connections that you'll need post grad. So, what advice would you have to those who are trying to network and looking to start building their professional network?
I use LinkedIn and that's how I got my first internship. And that's honestly great resource now that we have. But also go to events, ASCE and SHIP, and there's so many engineering and just STEM related activities that you can go to on campus, outside of campus. And even though I never got like a job connection, I also never followed up after those events. If I could go back, I think I would also go to the events, get their business card, which I would do, but then sending that email was so intimidating sometimes.
Yeah.
And I would just do it. Like, what do I have to lose? And just ask. Because we've had people shadow like a senior engineer just because they send an email to the right person. And just what's the worst thing that they can say no?
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like it is that fear of just rejection that holds a lot of people back. So it's definitely something to consider. Just kind
Hmm.
of just getting rid of that fear and going for it. Because again, like they don't really know, they can't really put a face to the name if you're just sending an email. So you really have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
All right, going into our last set of questions here. So, kind of just to wrap everything up, what inspired you to take on this major and go into this field in the first place?
Okay, this is an interesting question. I was just talking to someone about it. But originally, I was thinking becoming a math teacher. And my goal, I was like, I want something that gives back to the community. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But at the same time, I'm also a first gen. Like, my parents don't have a lot of money. I didn't have money in high school, right? Like, I had to make some decisions on the lifestyle I would want to have and what could fund that style of living that I would want, while also reaching my goals and my satisfaction. And I switched from math or Spanish, like to become a teacher, into engineering. Once I found out more about like Engineers Without Borders and like all the just basically need that there is in the society to have access to clean water. And I think Flint, Michigan really emphasized the need of civil engineers, especially that even in the US, people don't have access to clean water. And I think that's what kept me motivated also in college that, like, hey, I am doing this not just for myself and for my family, but I'm also helping out my community. And even though people won't see it because they think it's so easy just to turn on the tap water, someone made sure your tap water is drinkable
Yeah.
in a group of people. And I think that's what really inspired me to go into this field.
Did you always know that you wanted to go into like that, what you're working in now, like the drainage section then, since the beginning,
Um,
or?
I was hoping yes, but then I took hydraulics and hydrology, and I was like, this class is terrible. I'm terrible at it. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. This is really hard. And then my first job was in land development, and they were like, oh, we like your job and we like the way you think. We're going to move you to the water section. And then right when that was happening, the city called and they were like, hey, we're going to, like, we want to offer you a position. And then I was kind of disappointed of leaving that job and learning about water. And then I get there, and the first day they're like, welcome to the drainage section. You're going to be our new water engineer. And I was like,
Mhm.
I think it was me thinking about it and then just life happening because now I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Mhm. I think you manifested it from the beginning.
I think I did. And like, so I'm like, wow, like if someone were to be like, hey, you can travel around the world and like help design and build like water infrastructure, would I do it? I'm like, yes. I would do it in a heartbeat, but it's just hard because they're expensive projects and like no one's funding them.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the last of our questions. Again, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to let us ask you these questions and give us some more insight on the field, on what you do, and on your experience overall. But do you have any last words, any last questions for us, or anything you'd like to share?
Maybe like, okay, so I was thinking about my undergrad, and undergrad now is one of the hardest things I did. But after you get that first job, you're set. Like I hate to say this, but like engineering courses and like your engineering program is really just a way to help you think in a certain way, but also get people like to fall off the wagon sometimes. And once you're at the end, it's so worth it. Like, if you think about, like, quitting, because I thought about it, I was like, "Is this worth it?" Like, all these struggles, like, n all-nighters, it's worth it. 100% worth it.
All right. Well, thank you very much again. Hopefully, all this advice will go to someone who needs it, and
Hopefully.
I'll make sure to send you all the info, like links and stuff, so you can share it as well.